So if you just follow, like, the media, again, I say the media. It's a really strange expression, but I guess we'll go with it. If you just follow the media, you would pretty much take from the past couple of weeks that Labour have been almost in a disastrous state of view. I mean, according to the papers, Keir Starmer is up to his eyeballs in corruption. Oh my God, this is absolutely a nightmare scenario. How corrupt Keir Starmer is, this holier than thou person who dared criticize, uh, Boris Johnson for taking and still taking vast sums of money from all these people. Just how dare he do that? The other thing, of course, was the whole Sue Gray stuff. That Sue Gray has now stepped back from her position. And if you look at the papers, at least according to the Conservative side, the entire Labour government has fallen to pieces. But I'm going to ask you this very simple question. When it comes to gifts, what did Starmer do wrong? Like what has he done wrong? He hasn't committed a crime. MPs can receive gifts, like it or not. I don't like it, but they can receive gifts, and there is an entire protocol that if they follow, it is fine for them to do. Guess what? Starmer followed that protocol. He went back, asked, got the proper parliamentary authorities to do all that. There was a huge kerfuffle. He's now repaid all those gifts. When was the last time we saw someone like Boris Johnson repay someone for gifts, or any of the Conservatives that we know that are still receiving huge amounts of gifts? This is why when any of these other opposition MPs have ever brought this up, they get absolutely, kicked to the curb. You saw this not too long ago on Question Time, where it was an SNP person going, "Oh, but Keir Starmer received all these gifts," and then the response was, "But what about your leader receiving all these gifts as well?" And it's just like, So there's all that, and of course the whole Sue Gray thing. It's mountain out of a molehill stuff. Really, 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 honestly is. However, this week is going to be a absolutely massive week in terms of Labour policy. There is a lot of really, really, really good, groundbreaking Labour policy stuff coming on and advancing this week. Where is all the stories talking about this, talking about what is going on in Parliament? The fact that our Parliament, for the first time in a long time, is actually doing something. This isn't where we had Rishi do nothing Sunak of his time when he was Prime Minister, where Parliament did next to nothing because he was so immobilized by his own party. You have an incredibly strong Labour Party right now that is advancing policy. And that is what we're going to talk about this week. What is going on in Parliament? Policy, 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 people. It is happening. Labour are moving forward, and this is a big week for policy. So, before we go on talking about all this, please do remember to click on the like, the share button, the links down below, the Patreon page, the Buy Me Coffee link. Thank you very much to all those people who do buy me coffee every so often. The YouTube thank you button, the Pony Club down below as well. Thank you so much to everyone who does help us support the channel. Even if you do, just click the like, click the share button, ring the bell, hit the subscribe button if you're new. And let's crack on into what's happening this week. So the first big thing, the very first big thing, renationalising the rail. Yes, it may be essentially Labour are not immediately taking over and they're letting the contracts run out. But by the end of this parliament, the UK railways will be renationalised. Something that a lot of people on the left have been calling for a long time. As we said, okay, you're calling for the renationalisation of the rail. Then what? You know, then what? There is that. Then what? What is the Labour government going to do with railways? I've said this before. Ticketing needs to be seriously looked at. Give us, you know, bin the age limit on rail cards. Just give a rail card for everyone. Makes immediate economic sense. We talked just, I think it was last week, about what if you had like a Netflix subscription where you paid like, you know, £50 a month and you basically get unlimited use of the railways. I said it in that video, and other people agreed with me in the comments. We'd all be jumping on that. We'd all be jumping on that idea. So there is a ton of stuff they could do, and it will have to see what they then go on to do now that they've renationalised, or at least steadily but surely. And by the end of this parliament, the railways will be renationalised. So, again, big step forward when it comes to policy. The other big thing that's happening is a massive overhaul in the private rented sector. We've talked about this on the channel before as well. Doesn't go far enough in some cases, I agree, but I'll tell you what, good start. Good start for 10. Getting rid of Section 21 notices being something that has needed to be dealt with for a long time. We did an entire video about some of the problems of some of the other stuff that I would like to see. But as we mentioned back in that video as well, rent control is going to become part of the conversation now. That is the next big thing. And sometimes you can do stuff like this and you can advance forward step by step by step by step. So where it doesn't go as far enough in some areas as I would like to see it go, hey, it's a step forward, and hey, it's going to make renting a lot better for a ton of people out there. The other, of course, big thing happening as well is the biggest, and I do not underestimate this, because we will be seeing what goes in on this on Thursday, I believe, when it gets sort of presented and put forward. It is going to be the biggest package of workers' right reforms in over a generation. Now, we know behind the scenes there have been a lot of toing and froing. Labour have been talking to businesses, but as I said before, remember, in this particular government, in this particular Labour Party at the moment, there are more people who are in there who worked with or were part of unions fighting now to have better workers' rights. We will see what happens on Thursday. But regardless of what happens, if this turns out to be something like the Renters Reform Bill, where it goes and does some really good things in some areas, but maybe not far in other areas, then once again, this is a step forward, which now you can use as a jumping off point to talk about more stuff, to advance stuff in other areas, to go, okay, we've made this step, now we're going to make this step on here, make this step on here. This is a big week for Labour policy. Make no mistake. And I guarantee you, I almost guarantee you, instead of most of the newspapers, maybe the media, talking about these very big policy, things that are advancing in Parliament, it's not. We're going to end up talking about how Angela Rayner bought a suit for her partner. But anyway, as always, let me know what you think down below, because honestly, this is a very big week when it comes to Labour policy. Lots of stuff is cooking quite nicely in some of these bills, and as I said, the rent reform bill doesn't go as far as I would like in some areas, but I'll tell you what, it is a big step forward, better than what we've had before, and it will help, I think, a lot of people in that rented sector. Renationalising the railways, great, excellent. But now we've got to ask that question, as I've always said, okay, now you nationalise railways, Now, what are you going to do with it? You're renationalizing the railways. So there is a lot of stuff that, of course, needs to happen. But these are steps forward. And of course, stuff, once you've taken that step forward, you can then advance onwards on many of these, topics that you want to do. This ultimate thing now, once this rent reform bill gets passed, you are then going to see talks about rent control be brought in. I can almost guarantee it, because that is what the next big thing. It was always a big push for, getting rid of Section 21 notices, getting rid of Section 21 notices. We've got to get rid of Section 21 notices, the biggest cause of homelessness in the UK. Those are now gone in that bill. Once that passes, they're gone. So rent control, that's going to be the next big battle. That's going to be the next big fight. This is the type of parliament where you can do these types of things. It's what I've talked about constantly before, prior to this election, where you put pressure on this Labour government. We've seen that pressure be applied by MPs who are getting pressure from their constituents to say, hey, we want to see this done, we want to see this done, we want to see this done. This is what I was talking about constantly in the lead up to all this. So, I don't know what more to say on this, but big week for Labour policy. Going to see a lot of good stuff. We'll find out more about what goes into the big workers sort of rights reform stuff that's going to go on Thursday. So we'll see what happens. But I am expecting some very, very good stuff indeed. So as always, thank you very much for all of you for watching. Let me know what you think down below. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.